Dean Curry here, Fantasy Football, President and Founder, Fantasy Football, RSVP. So let's get right to it with Week 6 of the AAF. What a super exciting league. It really went way beyond my expectations, and not a lot of people are covering the AAF. I don't know why I keep putting it out there on my podcast. I wish other people, everyone's talking about the NFL, and I think that's great, but this is a professional league, man. We got to cover this stuff. And I've been covering it all year, trying to keep you guys informed, trying to get you to know the players. Been watching the games, and it's really been an exciting league. The fast-moving games, the play has been excellent. The rules are far superior, and I just wish it was like more coverage. As much as I love doing the podcast, I certainly love listening to podcasts too, and other people's opinions and stuff like that. But here we go, Week 6. So let's get right to it with. As far as running backs, I would probably go with De'Veon Smith. I mean, you have D'Ernest Johnson, also Orlando, and they kind of split carries, but it looks like Smith, who also catches a lot out of the backfield, is getting the power runs, the 3rd and 1s, the 3rd and 2s, the goal lines, which translates into fantasy football points. And, he doesn't need a lot of carries to be productive. I mean, he averaged almost 5 yards a carry in Michigan College, and he's actually averaging about the same for Orlando. He's a power back. He's hard to tackle. I really like this guy, De'Veon Smith. I would definitely stick with him. As far as running backs are concerned, Zach Stacy has been out there. People, for some reason, aren't playing him as much as they should. He's been really consistent. He pretty much is the bell cow on the team now. It wasn't true the first few games of the season. They were platooning, but now they actually are using Zach Stacy as a bell cow. They're consistently running the ball. Memphis Express. They consistently want to run the ball. That's, short passes, run the ball. Mettenberger, now they're starting to move the ball, a little round and stuff like that. But as far as like their game, they're really committed to the run. They like the ball control offense. Really like Zach Stacy. I would probably stick with him. You won't go wrong if you want to also have like D'Ernest Johnson of Orlando Apollos with De'Veon Smith. You won't go wrong. They're kind of, if you get them both, I mean, they're both being really productive. Either one will do well. You also have the Atlanta Legends. They've really been coming on. I've been saying this all year long, that the Legends were a lot better than their record. They were losing games close. They just weren't organized. Their quarterback situation, they weren't really like organized going on with Sims in there. Now they have Murray and they're playing well, but I like Tarion Falston of the Atlanta Legends. He's also put up over 100 yards last week. He's also another running back option. If Zach Stacy is taken, you can't trade for him. I would definitely look at Falston because the Atlanta Legends are really coming into their own. And with their quarterback, Aaron Murray, which I'll mention more about in a little while, I would seriously invest in some of the players on the Legends because they just seem like they're playing better and better every single week. And a lot of people don't kind of realize this, but their defense is, pretty much has given up the least points too. Not the most takeaways, but the least points, least yardage. That all those things. Their defense is pretty much ranked number 1 in those categories. So I really like the Legends offense right now. And as far as wide receiver, you might want to look at a guy named DeMornay Pearsonell. He's of the Stallions. He's been playing really well, and you might want to invest with him because he's really for fantasy football. I think he put up 130 yards on 8 catches last week, and they're using him rather heavily right now. So I would definitely think of staying with that. As far as Atlanta Legends wide receivers, Santavius Jones put up almost 90 yards on 5 catches. Again, I'm sticking with the Legends offense. You may want to really, stick with that because they're playing, really, really well. As far as anyone else at wide receiver, you might want to look at Dantes Ford of the Fleet. He's been kind of coming on, and you may want to also look at that as well, because the Fleet have actually been playing really well, and now with Berkovici, their quarterback in there, Nelson kind of went down. It looks like they're protecting Berkovici. That was the problem. He was getting sacked the first couple of games, first game and a half. He wasn't having any time to throw the ball, and he was the starter. But now he's getting the ball out quick. They're a little more organized on offense. They're protecting him. They were protecting Nelson, and he looked really good. Nelson went down for an injury. But Berkovici looked really, really good, and I would, seriously consider that as well, having Dantes Ford, because their offense is looking really good. And I've been saying this all year. Mike Mart's offense eventually is going to start to come into its own. A lot of these games, it was a little slow getting out of the gate, other than maybe the Apollos. And Arizona looked pretty good coming out of the gate, but they're getting a little outclassed now because the other teams are getting more organized. And Arizona's actually been taking a little bit of a step back, just not so much on, organization. They're well coached. But some of the other teams have talent, and they're starting to get more organized, and they're starting to show their true colors. But the hard team to figure out, the hot shots, because they were down big at halftime, came storming back. Sometimes they play well, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they look really well balanced, and sometimes they look a little off, and it's to be expected. It's a new league. But I got to say that the play has been, nothing short of outstanding. I've enjoyed the games. And, I'll tell you, I've watched XFL games. I've watched other professional leagues from the USFL that have come out. And, it wasn't, and I'm not faulting them, because the XFL, I'm going to cover it next year. That was with McMahon and Ebersol. And now Ebersol does the AAF and McMahon does the XFL, and I'm a big supporter of both. I want to, cover it. I want to, analyze the games. I want to be a part of these exciting leagues. I think they're phenomenal. I think, by their own admission, they had a documentary on the XFL, and by their own admission, they pretty much said that they weren't as organized as they wanted to be, and if they could do it all over again, they would. And now they have 2 separate leagues. But anyway, the point is, it's quality football, the AAF, and I have a feeling the XFL is going to be quality football too. And the rules are so much better. And let's get back, to fantasy football for week 6. With the quarterback situation. I really like Aaron Murray. I've been saying it a couple of weeks, to pick him up, when he came in for Sims. I knew it was going to happen. And the guy's playing really, really well. It seems like every week, he's doing better and better. He threw it for 300 yards on 40 attempts, I think. They're showcasing him. And, for the Atlanta Legends, they're just playing really well right now. And if you could get your hands on Murray, maybe it's too late. Maybe you could trade for him. The guy's doing really, really well. I would seriously, invest in the Legends offense as a whole. And their defense, has been giving up the least amount of points. And it's something to look at. So as far as that's concerned, another quarterback, you could look at Berkovici now that Nelson's out. He looked very solid if you're looking for, quarterback boost. But I would try to go again with Logan Woodside. I've been talking about this every week, and sometimes, he may not put up the top numbers of the week, although he put up 290 yards last week. But the bottom line is, he's consistent. And every so often he throws a pick or two, but it's to be expected. The guy's a fighter. He's consistent. And sometimes, you're not always trying to hit a home run in fantasy football. Sometimes you're just trying to get points at positions, and he is a solid performer in fantasy football. And keep your eye on Berkovici as well for the Fleet, because their offense is really starting to come around. They're playing well. They're shuffling quarterbacks and winning games, and they're winning games against decent teams, and playing well in the clutch. And it's just a matter of time to Mike Martz's team. I hope that they can get it together by playoff time, because they're looking better and better each week. As far as tight ends, I've been mentioning Christian and, some of the, Escobar. But, those guys are probably taken probably by now. You might want to look at Scott Orndorff of the Orlando Apollos. I've been saying this all along, other weeks, that eventually the Apollos, because I just know Spurrier's offense from watching the Florida Gator games from back in the day, and his other college that he coached. But one thing that I know, he likes to spread the ball around, even with the running backs. He likes to have two running backs, and spread them around. And now, we had Scott Orndorff catch 3 catches, 61 yards, touchdown, and that was probably his best week. And it's just a matter of time. I've been saying this over and over. It's a matter of time till they start using, their tight end, because he likes to keep defenses guessing, and he just wants to throw that ball and spray it all over the field. And that's how it was in Florida. It's not a shock, that he's doing it, here in the AAF. So if there's a tight end that you're looking for to get some points, I think Scott Orndorff is going to put up points for you, each week. Maybe not 10 catches or 12, but no one's doing that at tight end, in this league. So if you could get a few catches for 61 yards, a touchdown, I would definitely look at getting, because his numbers are going to climb, because they're going to try to really spread the ball around and stuff like that. As far as kickers, if you could get your hands on Young-Hoo Koo of the Atlanta Legends, the Legends still have a little bit of an issue getting in the end zone, which means more field goals. And this guy, if you don't know it by now, you probably should. He is the most accurate kicker in the AAF. He's 11 for 11. And he's just really kicking the ball well and just putting it in there. And, I looked up a crazy stat the other day that out of all their points scored, he is responsible for almost half their points, or close to it. And he's been accurate, but they move the ball. Atlanta's, especially the last couple of weeks. You got to look at trends. That's what we do here at our company. We're not just, giving you, who's the best defense, who's the best offense, who has the most points, who doesn't have the most points. Sometimes it's what someone's doing in the last couple of weeks. And you have to notice trends, and that's what we do at the NFL as well. We notice trends. Who has the best defense? No, it's week 10. It doesn't matter who has the best defense. Who has the best defense in the last 3 or 4 weeks? That's the type of ways that you have to measure, and that's what we're always looking at here. Because teams, sometimes you have a good defense, numbers-wise, but the last 3 or 4 weeks, your defense has been kind of playing poorly. And then you have other defenses that their defense hasn't been playing well. It's like the Patriots. The Patriots consistently play better the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season. But if you look at their overall numbers, they're usually not great, as far as defensive numbers. But one thing that they do is they have a tendency to stop the one weapon that's going to hurt them. And that doesn't always show up in team defense as far as stats. So you got to think of things, a little bit outside the box. And that's what we do here at our company. As far as kickers, you have, a lot of the matchups are pretty even this week, but if I had to pick a defense, if possible, and a lot of you may just have your set defenses, but if you have the Fleet, I really like the Fleet against the Birmingham Iron. The Iron were quick out of the gate. Again, a team very organized out of the gate, but the other teams are starting to catch up to them on talent. The Iron has actually been slipping. and not playing as good a football. Or, I wouldn't even say that. I just think the other teams are catching up, and that's what's happening. And they're more talented, but the Iron is struggling a little bit, and they out of the gate look like one of the better teams. And they're still 3-2. I mean, they have a good record, but I'm pretty sure they lost. They lost the last 2 games, so they're slipping a little bit, and they're playing the Fleet. And a lot of people aren't watching, but the Fleet's defense is formidable. I mean, they're ranked 3 in points given up, and they're ranked 3 in takeaways. So their defense is really coming on. They're playing at home. And they're starting to really come into their own, even with Berkovici as quarterback. So I would probably, if I had to pick a team for defenses, I'd probably pick the San Diego Fleet against the Birmingham Iron, and the Fleet are at home. And overall, I just want to say that if you haven't been watching the AAF games, you should really watch them. The rules are far superior. Some of these rules are actually going to be NFL rules. The games move quicker. It's faster in between each play. The onside kick, it actually gives a team a chance to come back instead of, kicking the ball and it's like a 1 in whatever, 30 or 40, chance of actually getting an onside kick. And, the 2-point conversion is just amazing. I just love watching the games. I mean, I can't, even, sometimes when I watch NFL games, I'll tape them. So this way I could just like speed up in between each play, and not listen to updates because it just moves so, slow. It's not a knock on the NFL. It's just, it's more of a praise to AAF. I mean, they really have a good formula of moving these games quicker. And it's more exciting, to see 2-point conversions after a play. And it happens quick, too. There's not a big celebration. They have like a shorter time clock. And it's just, you watch the game, and it's been quality football. It really has been quality football. I mean, I'm actually surprised more people aren't, analyzing these games, elected to talk about the NFL. I mean, it's great. There's lots of things going on with the NFL that I could talk about too, which I will, later this week with the draft coming up and some of the trades. But I mean, you have a professional league, happening right now. Cover league, it's exciting, and give your audience a chance to get some analysis and some commentary, so then they feel more familiar with watching the games, and that's why I'm covering the AAF, because I want people to watch these games because they're exciting, and I'm trying to explain everything as to the teams and what's going on, so this way you feel like, oh, okay, I didn't know that team did that, and now I'm going to follow it and stuff like that. So the games are really great. If you haven't watched the games yet, it's week 6. There's only 10 games, and then the playoffs, as far as fantasy football, there's only 8 weeks, and then the last 2 weeks are the fantasy football playoffs. So, I could catch up to speeds, look at all my videos each week talking about, everything. Subscribe to the channel. I've been covering it every single week. I also have a blog on Fantasy Football RSVP, and I've been posting them on Instagram, Fantasy Football RSVP, and Twitter, as well, which is FFootball RSVP. So I just want to say a lot of the information has been phenomenal coming out, and we have some exclusive tapes that are going to be, I've been pretty much putting everything free, so people could just listen to the videos and on YouTube and everything like that. But and I probably do it for pretty much the rest of the season for AAF because it's new. As far as after that, there will be the Fantasy Football VIP Club, Knights and Dames Club for $7.77. You will also get secret leagues, secret videos, which will be starting with the NFL coverage soon. So, and you could join it on our website, Fantasy Football RSVP. So I want to wish you the best. Really start watching these games. They're really, really phenomenal. I hope you guys have a great week 6 of the AFF. And so have yourself a wonderful day.